Happy Monday, everyone. And I want to speak to specifically women that are married and women that are in a relationship and have been going to church. Either you've been beginning to go to church or you've been going to church for a long time. And I want to speak to you because recently I read a manuscript about a woman who endured a lot of physical and emotional abuse throughout her marriage. And the feedback that she kept on receiving from church leaders was that she needed to have more faith. She needed to stay out of her husband's way. That she needed, it was always somehow her husband's reactions towards her was always her fault. She was not doing enough. She wasn't praying enough. She was provoking him. And I believe with all my heart that if you are facing some kind of emotional abuse or physical abuse in your marriage and in your relationship, and you are going to church and you're going to a church leader, and a church leader is telling you that there's something wrong with you, that there's something wrong with, there's something that you're not doing, that you're not praying enough, and you fall under that cycle, I know how frustrating it could be to receive the same feedback over and over again. And then you're running in circles, frustrated, thinking, my God, I've prayed enough, I've fasted already, I have interceded, years I've spent my time praying for this man and he does not change. I want to speak to you and tell you that mental illness and health issues are a factor. Sometimes, yes, we are living in a spiritual world and there's a spiritual reality, but we should never disregard that sometimes what we're dealing with is a husband or a wife that either has narcissistic patterns, behavioral patterns, different toxic personality patterns and behaviors, and we want to just clean it up and just put it under the rug and just tell a wife or a husband even, just pray a little bit more, or just be nice to him, be kind, be submissive. And what you are not understanding, and what a lot of leaders do not understand, is that you're telling a woman that is being emotionally abused, she's not aware sometimes that she's being emotionally abused, and yet you're practically telling her to submit to a monster, to submit to a person that continues to hurt her, continues to break down her soul. I mentioned the word submission because it's something it's slapped around at church so much, and I'm tired. I'm exhausted of hearing pastors and leaders telling women, you have to be submissive. You have to be submissive, disregarding the fact that there's so many women in toxic marriages, toxic relationships, and they receive that word like, oh, I have to be submissive. Oh my God, so I'm doing something wrong. So what you're creating, and what you don't understand, leaders, Christian leaders, if you're listening to me, what you don't understand is that you are practically telling women that they're doing something wrong. You need to, if you're going to speak, pastors, if you're listening to me, if you're going to speak about submission, you have to also mention that a man needs to be submitted to the will of God. He needs to be submitted to God, period. Because then what we're creating is silence. We're silencing women. There's so many women living in toxic marriages in silence, in shame, feeling bad, feeling frustrated, not being able to talk to anyone. And to those women, I say to you today, don't seek for someone to understand you, someone within the church to understand you. This is the reality. Someone at church who's accustomed to being at church and going for years, they're going to tell you the same thing. They're going to tell you to pray. They're going to tell you to intercede. They're going to tell you to fast. And all of that is wonderful and great. But in most cases where there's emotional abuse that you're not aware of, where there's toxic patterns, you need a mental health care professional. You need a therapist. You need a psychologist. You need to speak to someone that is able to identify the root of your issues in your marriage, in your relationship. Please seek for professional help. I'll tell you what will happen to you as soon as you seek for professional help. You're gonna be able to understand the why of the patterns. You're not gonna go crazy and with that answer as to why is he like this, why is this like that, why doesn't God change this, why is it that God is not moving, why is it that God is not bringing my solution, why is it that God is not creating that miracle in my husband or in my marriage. You're no longer gonna wonder the why. You're gonna know the why, and guess what? You can now look at yourself and say, okay, this is what I can expect. You know what to expect now. You know how to respond. A psychologist can help you. And if you're looking for a Christian psychologist, there are many. So they can help you how to respond in a practical way. Continue to pray, continue to seek for God, continue to read the Word of God, but seek for professional help. It will make a world of a difference.